other different things, because we're not treating your symptoms, right? We're not treating your pain. Our whole purpose is to treat and just release the health that's already inside of your body.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not that we don't care about your symptoms, because, every doctor cares if you get out of your neck pain or back pain. The idea is to get to the cause of it, right? And so the medical community really doesn't understand this, and neither do a lot of chiropractors. But, for example, getting to the cause of something. So Dr. Nick, if we were to take Dr. Nick and we were to put him naked on an iceberg, he's immediately going to pull blood away from his extremities into his core. Is that smart or is that stupid?
That sounds cold.
That sounds cold.
Well, that's a smart
response,
because that's where all of your vital organs are, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's a hierarchy. You begin to shiver to produce energy. Is that stupid or is that smart? Or is that random chance or is that intelligent? That's intelligent, right?
Right.
And so, let's say I make you eat dairy, Dr. Nick, and grains. And you develop osteoporosis because that's exactly what happens when you eat dairy and grains. Is that stupid or is that smart? Well, it's smart because, your body's acidic now, and you're going to start pulling calcium away from your body and from away from the bones, and you're going to develop osteoporosis because it's the hierarchy. So being alive, or being comfortable, that's the question you really got to ask yourself. And so really what we do in our offices is really to get to the cause of things. So let me get to this then. Now, pulling the blood away from the extremities, that's a good idea, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you're the big toe. Mm-hmm. Right? But the big toe is like, hey, I'll sacrifice myself for the heart and the big guys upstairs. They'll do that. So what does medicine do? You're starting to pull blood away from your extremities, and so it thickens the viscosity and all those big words. And what do they say? We've got a blood thinner for that, right?
Right.
And so what happens when you start shivering? We've got an anti-shiver medication for that. Right?
Right.
And so it reminds me of like the app commercial. You ever seen the Apple commercial where it says we've got an app for that?
Yeah.
It's like the medical community says, we have a drug for that. And it's with every single physiological response. And here we are as maximized living wellness doctors, and we're like, take them off the freaking iceberg. Get to the cause. Right. What's the major stressor here that's causing this person a dysfunction? That's why I loved what you guys did with your cancer event last week, which was phenomenal. I know the next events that you have coming up are going to be equally awesome, but it's just because you told people and you educated them and you educated whole families. Get to the cause. That's the only hope for a cure.
And see, people don't understand. I don't understand why people don't understand, because it's so simple. So like I've been using this analogy of a car lately, and I just watched this movie by a physician. She's an orthopedic surgeon. Her name's Lorraine Day, MD. I encourage you all to go check her out and look her up. Thank you, Ginevra, for introducing me to Dr. Day. But she was explaining on this video, she's like, she's telling a story, but she's saying that, her car broke down, and she heard this knocking going on in the engine, and her check engine soon light was coming off, and they're going on, and the first gear was slipping, and all these different things. So she takes her car in to the mechanic, right? And the mechanic says, well, it's going to be $800, I'll fix all this stuff for you. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, well, we're going to take out that first gear. And she's like, well, don't I need that first gear? And he's like, well, you need it, but your car can still run without it. It'll be okay. And he's like, for that check engine soon light, well, we cut that wire, so that light's not gonna bother you anymore. And then you hear that knocking that you kept hearing in the engine. Well, here's some headphones, so we'll give you some headphones to drown this out. And she's joking, and she's a medical doctor saying this, and she goes, well, you're not a mechanic, you're a medical doctor, because that's what we do in medicine. She's like, we treat all the symptoms, we take out the parts that aren't working right, we shut off the symptoms. But you would never do that, right? You would never let a mechanic work on your car before he knows what the problem is, right? So why, when we go into the hospital and we have a fever, is the first thing that we get an antibiotic before we even know if we have a bacteria, infection in our body?
Oh, isn't that something? And we do more research on the cars that we're going to get, as
You're
opposed
right.
to what we're going to do about our health. Isn't that right?
Yeah. And the crazy thing is like, what I all see is just this like victim mentality. It's like, oh, well, just like kind of what you said, Dr. Nick, about like the osteoporosis, like, oh, well, it just happened to me. Or I didn't put oil in my car for a year, or I haven't put gas in it, and I ran out of gas and my engine's blowing up. Well, it just happened to me, though. It's a lie. And if that's you that said, oh, well, it just happened to me, wake up and start changing things. I mean, that should be the hope that you hear from this show today, is that you're just not given a bad hand, okay? Something had to have happened to cause what's going on. Something caused what's going on, whether it's in your car or in your body. Something caused it. So you can't just start treating the symptoms because it's never going to get to the root cause. So we got to remember that. And with your office up in Indianapolis, that's what you guys are going to do. Is you're going to be fixing or identifying and then fixing the cause.
Oh man, and because most people are told what one of three things is causing them to be unwell.
Mm-hmm.
Bad genes, bad luck, or
Mm-hmm.
bad bugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, everybody's going to come into the office thinking those three things, and that's probably the biggest challenge, and you probably have seen this in your office, of really changing their paradigm or how they think.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's what it's all about, and that's why I'm just excited for you. So, why don't you tell the listeners, a good place they can reach to you if they have family up in Indianapolis?
All right, if you go to elevateindy.com, it's ELEVATEINDY.com. That's where you can find my website, and you'll find the location, phone number, and all that stuff right on there. If you do have family in the area, you can call 317-626-2700, and I can find the doctor nearest you. And if you live in the area code 46220, that's where I am. If you go on MaximizeLiving.com, type in 46220, you'll be able to find the location.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for being on the past couple of shows. For those of you guys that are listening, check us out on Facebook. Go to our website, 212degreesofwellness.com, and just get signed up for those events. So call our office, 636-273-4800. You guys have a blessed day, and start making the right decisions. Good job. Good job, man.
It's fun.
It is fun.